Okay. So you want to click this. In other words, this is, or click this off. I have it turned off, hide extensions for known file types. Now, why do you want to do that? It's because, well, first of all, of course, the default for Microsoft is to have that clicked. You want to unclick it because it sometimes makes it difficult to find out what is the file type for this file really. And there's some exploits that are tricky. You can see this file down here. We have dangerous.txt.exe. Well, if you have the this clicked, so it says hide extensions, well, .exe is a known file type, it'll show the file name is dangerous.txt. So does it, so somebody looking at the file name, you'll see it as a text file. You go, oh, well, a text file is safe. There's no viruses in a text file, and you might double click it. Well, that would be a bad thing to do. So I recommend everybody turn it off. Other things here, you might notice there's two levels of Windows hiding files. They have hidden files. If you go in with the command.com, you do a DAR space /AH. /A is for attributes, H is for hidden. Show me the hidden files. And you'll see the files that are hidden. If you click this button, then in the file manager, you'll see hidden files. They usually grayed out telling you that they're hidden. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. You see files that you didn't know were there. Also, there's the high protected operating system files, which says recommended. Yeah, usually you want to click that because you don't want to mess with the OS files. Unless you really know what you're doing, and then go ahead and mess with them. Just don't say I told you so. Okay, so that has nothing to do with web security, but I suggest you do it. WebGoat, I mentioned sometimes that when you are running WebGoat, if you're going to have to run it several times, and I have several assignments that use WebGoat, so we'll be running it, and also WebWolf, that you may wish to create a bat file that runs it. I have a bat file that looks like this. It has the first thing it does is change the directory to the location where I keep the WebGoat program. I put this bat file on my home page on my on my desktop, so it's easy to find and easy to click, and then it automatically switches to the right directory and runs Java, and that will start it up. I have one for WebGoat and I have one for WebWolf. So you want to run the WebGoat first and then WebWolf. It seems to just work a lot better that way. But now one of the problems that some people have found is that they are running this and it doesn't find Java. Java is not in your path. You can do one of two things. You can change your path so to include Java, and that's probably the recommended or slightly more complex way. Another way is to put the path name for the Java executable in that file. Here it is. This is the location on my computer, which is probably pretty similar on most people's computers if you accept the default file names. It's C:/program files, Java, JDK 15.0.2. Of course, that depends on what version you have. As you get new versions, you'll have to update this, and then /bin. In that JDK directory, the bin has all the executables and other stuff. And in there is Java. That's what you want to run. Now you notice I have quotes before and after that. That's because Microsoft, in their infinite wisdom, put a space in the name program space files. There's a lot of systems that can't handle a space in a path. And so if you put the quotes around it, it will take it as one entity and it will work correctly. Without the quotes, it's looking for /program. And there is no /program, so it doesn't work. Okay, so that's how to run that. Of course, when you run WebGoat, you get to this. All right. I'll get there and we're going to show a demonstration. When you're done using WebGoat, in the command window, the black command window, you can do Control-C, wait a second or two, and the WebGoat program, it should terminate. It may ask you, do you want to terminate the bat file? And you can say yes, and then it goes away. Of course, you can always just kill the sucker by clicking the little red X in the upper right-hand corner, or the little red circle if you're on a Mac, and that will make it go away. It's a little nicer to terminate it so it goes away calmly. All right, well, enough of that. Stop sharing. Now I'm going to try something that I warned you never to do. I'm going to do a live demo. Live demos are fraught with danger, but we're going to give them a shot anyhow. Okay, so let's see. I want to share this screen. Okay, get rid of that. And there are my two WebGoat, and so I'm going to click that one, and hopefully it runs.
What is the passcode for the meeting? Because I can't get the link to get on the tablet.
And we'll just run that and clickety-clack.
Passcode.
Okay, well, it's moving along there. Clickety-clack, takes a while. Other things are running. And it's got a couple warnings it comes up with. Whoever built WebGoat's going to have to fix some issues here. So that's okay. All right. We're not quite done yet. It's taken a while. Must have something else running like Zoom, which is taking an awful lot of time. Oh, okay. Well, anyway, it will get done there. Okay, there it goes. It's gets the happy message started in 1 minute. All right, we'll let that go away. We'll start WebWolf. You don't always need WebWolf. You can frequently just skip WebWolf. WebGoat is the vulnerable website. WebWolf is an attack system that sometimes is used to attack WebWolf. So it needs to be okay. It actually starts a lot faster. Okay, we'll just assume it will get there. All right, so now we've got that going. And I'll go down to Chrome and start this whenever Chrome feels like starting. There we go. And it's at localhost colon. Why does it not remember this? Oh, actually, it's yes. Okay. There it is. Log in, and we'll click that. And there we are. We're on WebGoat. Sign in. I've got it already set up with my user ID and password, which is pretty unimportant because remember, WebGoat is running on your computer. Now, WebGoat is designed to run in multiple ways. You can run it on a server. I could have all of you running on a single server at the university, or I could have everybody working on individual systems. I experimented and find that it works a lot better if everybody's running on their own system. That way, there's no issues of interference. If everybody's running on the same server, there's some interference. If one of you does something and somebody else does something, you might interfere with each other. This way, it's all on your own computer. It's all running secure. Since this is a security class, we want to make sure we are secure ourselves. So that works. Okay, and there it is. There are introduction things. You can do WebWolf, WebGoat, general. By the way, these little green checks mean that I've done all the assignments in that thing. I've done them all correctly. See, I got a couple of them that worked. And then there are all sorts of other lessons down here. We can talk about SQL injection, which we will talk about at some point. Click that. Hopefully it will do something. There it goes. Yes. Yes. And so in the not too distant future, we'll be talking about SQL injection and be running some assignments on this. One of the things I wanted to point out is HTTP proxies. If you click here, it talks about installing Zap. So I'd like to talk a little bit about installing Zap. but not here. Let's stop this for a while. And now I want to run Zap. I have Owasp Zap loaded on my desktop, so I'm going to click on that. Okay, Zap is a proxy. Z application proxy is what ZAP stands for. What is happening with my computer? Okay, it's just all right. Everything's going along. It's opening up. It takes a little while to start up. It's a Java application, all Java, which means it should run on Windows, on Mac. Okay. Okay. First thing when it comes up is it shows you this box right here. Do you want to persist the Zap session? Answer. I usually say no, unless I'm wanting.
We can't hear you.
Okay, I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, yes. All of a sudden, I got this red exclamation point over my microphone thing. Well, okay. We're back. Anyway, has anybody had any experience running this successfully on a Mac? It says it's supposed to run Mac, Linux, and Windows. Any Mac users out there?
It works on the Mac.
Ah, great. That's what I wanted to hear. Okay. Once you've clicked in Chrome, then you can see I have the little Chrome button up here that will launch Chrome. I recommend using this to start Chrome in relationship to Zap, as opposed to trying to do it the manual way. It's a little bit weirder. And also, when you click the Chrome button here, it opens up one copy of the browser, and that's all that's really impacted by Zap. I've noticed in other attempts to use Zap that all of a sudden, everything that uses the network, the browser, my email, Zoom, everything weirds out because Zap is checking it all. Okay, so you do this. Now also, there is a heads-up display. There it is, yes. Enable Zap HUD, heads-up display. That is by default on. I ran that way for a couple times. I found it annoying myself, but it's your choice if you want it or not. I have it turned off. So I'm going to now move Zap over here, see if I, actually, on the other side, let's move Zap over here. No, don't do that, please, Windows. Windows is kind of picky if you push things. Okay, and then I'm going to tell it to start Chrome. And clickety-clack, there it is. There is the Chrome. You might say it says Chrome is being controlled by an automated test system. And so now anything that's going through, I wonder what happened there. Oh, okay, we'll explain that in a minute. All right. Yes, anything happens now with this copy of Chrome. There are other copies of Chrome. I happen to have other copies running at the moment, and which actually makes it pretty nice because sometimes if you are setting Zap things and stopping things, it will slow things down and make a mess of it. So it's best to just run one and maybe have another copy of Chrome open so you can go out and look at web pages or whatever. Okay. All right. So back over here to Zap, and let's see if I can kind of get these. Yes. Okay. All right. So a couple of things we want to do right off. Down here in the history, it's telling you everything that's going by. You notice there's an awful lot of Google stuff going through. Google, I don't know what Google's doing, but I see all sorts of Google stuff. So I don't want to see the Google stuff. I don't want to deal with it. And so I click over here on filter. It gives me a filter. And then I say exclude anything that contains the word, oh, I gotta spell it right, Google. Apply, and then go out here and say, hey, will you just delete this stuff? And it will, yes, I understand. That's why I'm doing it. So I'll delete these three, and it will ask me if I really want to do it. And they go away. Bingo. Okay, that's what I wanted. Nothing in the history because we've done nothing. All right. So now we have Zoom. So let's go over here to Chrome, and we'll go to my website. And see how that works. Click on that, and there it is. Now we'll go over back to Owasp over here to Zap, and you'll notice we have a couple. We haven't got rid of all the Google stuff, but we do have this command. So we double click on this, and there and there is the get command to get that page. And let's look at this in some detail. Can you see this? I can make it bigger if you can, but
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see it.
okay, good. Sharp eyes. I'm glad to know it. All right. So starts with the word get. There are multiple verbs or commands in HTTP. Hopefully, you've seen the HTTP basic review that I had out there that everybody was supposed to watch. That's one of the. There will be two other lectures posted shortly, both dealing with encryption, and they're coming out today. I hope, maybe if I get them. I got them written. I just have to speak them. Okay, but you'll notice the get, and then that's over here in the commands, followed by the name of the website, which is the williams.comp.ncat.edu, and then the HTTP version, which is 1.1. 1.1 is probably used by almost everything I've ever seen. Version 2 is out, and in fact, version 3 is out. If you look at the lecture on HTTP, it discusses version 3 a little bit, but I've never seen anything that uses it. Okay. Then we down here have keep alive. Keep alive means when HTTP or your browser creates a connection, a web socket to the other side, it sends this command over that, gets a response, and then doesn't delete the socket right away. That allows it the opportunity to go out and fetch further files, because in my web page, which is pretty darn dull, I have no graphics at all. It couldn't be simpler. If I had a picture, though, the picture is a separate file, and it creates another HTTP GET to go out and acquire that file. And it happens over the same socket connection if you have keep alive. Okay, and going down here, upgrade and secure requests. It just says that notice that I use HTTP and not HTTPS, and it's asking me to upgrade to HTTPS. Well, too bad my server doesn't do that. User agent tells you what system we're using. You can see it says I have a Windows NT 10. That means Windows version 10. And so forth. And I'm using Chrome version 88 point something. I'm going to accept all sorts of things. Most importantly down here, well, / just means everything. And then there is the host command, which is a required option that says, this is the site I'm going to. All right, so that's the command to get it. The response is here. This is what was sent back from my server. and it starts with HTTP/1.1. So in the very beginning, each side explains what version of HTTP they're using. And then after that comes the status. This is the happy status 200. 200 means everything's working. In fact, then there's an explanation, which is okay. So 200 means everything worked as you wanted. You know several of them, like 404, file not found, and several others. Then we have the date. Down here it says the server. Notice I'm running Apache version 2.4.38. Now, if you're trying to attack a system, it can be useful to know, oh, are they running Internet Information Server? Are they running Express.js? Or are they running Apache? Or what are they using for their server? Because then, if there happen to be some known exploits against that server, you can go, aha, there it is. A lot of people don't update their Apache when they should. So here's version Apache. That's followed by the operating system of my server, Raspbian. Well, Raspbian is a Linux version that runs on a Raspberry Pi. Yes, my web server is a little bitty Raspberry Pi machine. It's about the size of a pack of cigarettes or something. It's not very big at all. And then a couple other things. Content length, that means there's 47,261 bytes to follow of the web page. And others say, oh, content type, this is HTML text. And then down below, it shows you the text. And you can see all the webs. This is the web page that was acquired when I clicked there. So that's the request. It did it, and there's response. And so we'll go over here and we'll yes, go to the quiz page. Hopefully you've all seen this. Yes, the metric quiz stuff was due today at noon. Some of you just didn't see the capital red words timed. And you got to get all the questions correct, but it took you a long time to do it. Remember, it's the % right minus the number of seconds over 60. And so some of you, your best score is a negative number. Somebody's best score is a negative number like negative 260. They got to get 100 in the next couple quizzes before they're even up to 0. But don't worry, I do not score, keep negative numbers. Okay, so there it is. All right, now another feature that's really nice of, I'm going to delete some of these things again, excuse me. I have my efforts to make them stay away, which is not very successful. Okay, I want to set a breakpoint. This little X for the plus next to it is a breakpoint. So I'll go down there, and I want the breakpoint. I want to stop. I'm going to look for, gets when it contains the word get, which is just about all of them. And I'll add that. So now down here, it tells you under breakpoints, we have a breakpoint. We can go back to history. And now over here, I'm going to click on, let's go to metric quiz. All right, over here, here is the get for the metric quiz, but it stopped. My browser sent the get request, but Zap has stopped it, has not sent this request onto the server. It's simply holding on to it. And so you can look at this and say, okay, and then say I want to change it. So I'm going to go out here and I can edit this. So where it says metric, I'm going to change that to log2. And then up here, there's the go buttons, the run, basically the little run button. I'm going to click that. And now it sends that to the server. And we get a response, hopefully. Oh, hang on. We're getting a little issues here with the damn Google stuff. Yes. Excuse me. Let me. Okay. Where are we? We want to open. This was the get we see here. Nope. That was the get. We changed it to log2. I had requested, in other words, on the browser, I clicked the metric quiz, but then I stopped the thing here, the Zap had its breakpoint. It stopped. I edited that to say log2, pressed go, it sent it off, and it sent back the log2 quiz because I had updated it. In other words, the server never saw the get the metric, it only saw get the log2. And so it brought back the log2. So Owasp Zap allows you to look at the HTTP as it comes and goes, and also allows you to edit it. You can edit the HTTP, and you can also edit the text that's being sent across. That can be very helpful on trying to do an attack. Any questions about that so far? Everybody see what you can do with Zap. I might also, since we're here on one of the quizzes, let's just, we've got the breakpoint sent. I'm going to change the breakpoint here, add another breakpoint. I want to do, well, first of all, I'll cancel. I'm going to go out and look at the breakpoints and delete that breakpoint. Unenable that. And then I'm going to go add another one where I want the header to contain put. In other words, this is going to create a breakpoint that will stop not on gets, but on puts. Okay, so we're running over here. Let's go over to this browser where it's being monitored by Zap. And we've got the quiz. This is the log2 quiz, not the one you had to do the metric one. Enter my name and I'll go Debbie demo. We're running this one. Hit it. And what's the largest number that fits in 12 bits? Well, everybody should know it's 4095, right? Hey, I was correct. And how many bits does it take to do that? It takes 8 bits and so forth. I'm not going to sit here and try to answer all these questions because you might realize that I don't actually know all the answers. Oh, wrong, you see? But I can just go, I'll just hit a bunch of them until you get the I should have counted how many I've done. There we go. All right, over here, here's the history. There is the HTTP post command. Oh, post, not a put. Well, that's why I didn't stop. But there's the post. You can see it's a post, same thing, from the sending the quiz results. And it's sending this JSON data. And it's got telling what quiz, do the log2 quiz. The student is Debbie Demo. I got 3 right, and it took me 35,261 milliseconds. I time you accurately on these quizzes. And so that's going across. We could have broken that if I remembered to put a post and not a put, but that's it. So we can see the user, and we can also edit this as necessary. All right, that's Zap. Any questions about Zap? Okay. Yes. Oh, and I again, hopefully you can all see this. I'm just step through this real quickly. Review when you're going through WebGoat and going through the setup for Zap. It says configure the proxy to free port. I would just leave that alone. It's not necessary to play with that. Just you could do it. It isn't necessary. I say just skip it. And then when you get to Owasp the first time, click on Manual Explorer, set your browser to Chrome or Firefox, depending on what you want to use. Decide whether you do or do not want the heads-up display. You can give it a try. Some people might like it. I found it kind of annoying. But, well, okay, what is heads-up display? Instead of having to look at the Owasp window, it displays the information in the browser. And it puts the web page behind the browser, behind the Owasp information. It's kind of clever. I found it was kind of obscured some of the website stuff, particularly if I needed to click on things that were hiding behind some of the Owasp stuff. But you can use whatever you like, as long as it gets done. So that's the way to set it up. Okay. Enough of this for right now. I wanted to do a little bit more talking about web tools. So I'm going to close my browser here. Was that one? I'm going to close Owasp, which will say yes. I discard it and just go away. And that's it. Okay, easy enough. And now, let me show you another feature we have here. Oops. I'm going to go over here. This is Chrome, and we want to look at the Chrome JavaScript Debugger. I have Chrome on my system. There are debuggers for most of your big browsers. Chrome, Edge, Firefox is a very nice one. Yes, so look, I'm only going to demonstrate Chrome. There's lots of good tutorials out on the web. So Google up your favorite browser's tutorial for debugging and find out how it works. Let me just quickly go through this one. Okay, so here I am in Chrome on my web page, and I'm going to go to my website, which I'm going to go to this page. Excuse me. That one. And clickety-clack. There we are. Hey, I think we've seen this before, right? So this is the website. Again, it has the quiz. Now, I'm going to go over here to the triple dots on the right side, click on that to get the options. And then I'm going to go down to more tools. And over there, I'm going to go to developer tools. And you might note, instead of going to dots, click, 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 you can also just say Control-Shift-I, whatever you like. I use this until I can remember Control-Shift-I. But when you do that, there, it pops open half the screen, the debugger. And if you click over here, we're set on sources. And so if I click over here on the sources, I can see the files involved. I only have 2 files. I have the HTML for the quiz. I also have a small cascading style sheet. Okay. You can see your instructor uses good styles when he, but okay. Okay. The screens are always short, narrow. And there is, okay, this is my website. You can see it starts at the beginning. It's not a very complicated website. It's got, in fact, it's got the HTML here. And then there's some script that runs this. So we can look at the script and see, how does this quiz really work? And you can see there's a function on input, which I'm sure later on you'll find out when you click the button, it calls the on input function, which is just classical. And a couple of stuff, if it's just the first name, get the name. Otherwise, do some stuff. There's some a function that makes questions. In fact, that's a rather long function. Most of the program is making interesting questions. So you can go down here and it's creating a question that will ask. Yes, so when it asks you, log base 2 of what number, well, that's just a random number that it picks. And it has different types of questions. It first picks a random number to say, well, what type of question we ask, and then puts random numbers into that question. So you get a random number and a random question. But let's try it. Okay, down here, it's going to say, down on this Q-text, we've computed the answer. Now, this is a question, is how many bits does it take to represent whatever number? I think you might have seen one of those earlier. So I'm going to click over here just to the left of the number, like most IDEs, that does a breakpoint. You can see it's blue over here under breakpoints. It says in the log base 2 HTML file at line 172, we've set a breakpoint. It's going to, so I'm going to go over here. Let's give this thing a shot. And this one will be Debbie debug. And oh, wow, we hit it first time. Remember, there's 4 different types of questions, so we had a 25% chance and we got lucky. Okay, so it's over here. And now that it's stopped, and we can look at the program, we can see what we can step to the next line as we wish. There's the up here, there's the step in and step over, or step over and step in. Like most debuggers, step over will execute a method or a function without without debugging the function. So if you're calling, particularly if you're calling a system function, you could call that function, and then it will just call it and come back, and the debugger doesn't go into that function. That's particularly useful if you're pretty sure the function works and that's not where your problems are. Step in will call the function and it will continue debugging into the function. If you end up in a function, you go, oh, well, I learned all I want to learn about this function. There is a step out, that is, run this function until the end, and when it returns, then break again and allow you to step from that point. Okay. And then there is the resume, which is just the go, let it take off and keep running again. Okay, but we've stopped at line 172. Now this is before it executes this line. So it is already, we can look at the variables. These are the local variables that we have that are in this method. And this method has a few local variables. Our question type, yes, we know the question type is 3 because that's how we got, see, there's a switch statement here, it gets down to type 3. Okay, and then there are globals. I click on the globals and there are, well, yes, a whole wad of globals because a lot of them are your domain, object model, variables, and other sorts of system stuff. The one I'm interested in, though, is answer, because answer is a variable. It's a global variable in my program. I'm just going to scroll up for a minute. And no, it's okay, yes. You see, I have several global variables in the program. This may or may not be good programming style, but that's how I wrote it. And they're up here. One of them being answer, which of course is the answer to the question. So down here where we're debugging, I have answer. Now you can change that. You click that and you go, oh, what's the answer? The answer is not 11, the answer is 47. Press enter, it makes the change. Okay, and now you can see answer's got the value of 47. So I'm going to press the run button to resume the JavaScript. Click that. And how many bits does it take to, I know the answer is 11, and I'll do that, but it says, no, it takes 47 bits. We have changed the JavaScript. So now it did something incorrect. That's particularly useful if you want to do something that the program wasn't really intended to do. And in our web security class, where we are learning how to attack systems, we're going to learn how to do all these sneaky things. So any questions about that? Any questions about the debugger? Anybody ever used the debugger? Anybody still alive out there?
I'm still alive.
All right, glad to hear it. Thanks to.
I've never had to use debugger.
Okay, well, here's a new experience for you. So a new debugger. Okay, so let me go back to showing the slides, if I may. Okay, new share. I'm going to go over here and share screen 2 if I can find it there. Okay. Oh, we have a new student.
Get off the camera.
Okay. All right. Everybody can see the screen now, the using Zap. Okay. So we talked about, we talked about Zap. We talked a little bit about WebGoat, WebWolf, and we talked about the debugger in Chrome. I also want to tell another minor tool that you'll need to know is about encoding. Let me just talk for a few minutes about encoding, because it appears a lot when you're starting to look at this HTML stuff and you see, okay, and you see lots of numbers. It may very well be encoded. Okay, encoding is a way. Okay. The big problem is that often, even in the header, not so much in the data of the that's being transmitted back and forth, but in the header, the HTML, and some of the HTML options, in particular things like cookies. when it transmits the data, there are characters in there you don't want transmitted. The end of the cookie is defined by an end of line character. Well, if an end of line appears in your data, that's going to not work well. Also, there are all sorts of brackets and commas and parentheses and spaces and stuff that may cause difficulty in transmitting the information. HTTP will get confused. So what you can do is you can encode the data. You can encode the data into several ways to do it. Two primary ways that are used with HTTP. And this reduces it to a very simple set of characters that can almost always be transmitted back and forth. So the system will just see a bunch of letters and numbers and not worry about it. Now, the first encoding system I want to use is called URL or percent encoding. URL encoding appears on the command line, the HTTP line. Looking down here in the example, I have google.com search question mark Q equals URL. It was, in other words, I typed into Google, I wanted to search for URL space encoding. And the space is going to cause problems with the sending it across in the header. So the browser changes the plus to a space. That's one of the easiest encodings you can see. All spaces are turned to plus. Hey, that's really easy. What if you actually want to transmit a plus? Well, that's okay. There are a whole bunch of reserved characters. Down here at the bottom of the screen, you'll see reserved characters. Those are characters that you're not supposed to put in a HTTP command. But you can send them if you hide them as percent encoding. And what you see here is the character percent followed by the 2-digit hexadecimal index for the ASCII character. And so we can see that a plus is a 2B. So if you type percent 2B, it will arrive at the other side, which will decode it, and it will become a plus. And then there's parentheses and commas and all the funny punctuation that you might want to send can be sent as percent. Actually, you can send anything and everything percent encoded. If you wanted to do the letter A, I think A is like 41 or something, or I can't remember what it is, but you could percent encode that, all the letters along with punctuation. But the letters transmit okay, so it's typically you don't do the letters. So this is URL encoding, and it's relatively simple. Then there's Base64 encoding. Base64 encoding is used quite a bit. Not only is it used in HTTP headers, it can often be used sending the data where you don't want the format and the characters of the data to cause any confusion with the way it's being sent. And so what it does is it takes the byte you're sending, and you can send every value in a byte. A lot of those strange bytes, particularly the ones that have the leading most significant bit set, show up as weird characters. You can send them all because it takes the full 8 bits of the byte and converts it to a 6-bit value. In other words, each byte or octet has 8 bits, and therefore there's 256 different possible values because 2 to the 8th is 256. And then it takes those bytes and splits them into groups of 6. You can see here in the diagram that we have 3 bytes. 3 times 8 is 24 bits. And then it breaks them into groups of 6. And so 24 divided by 6 is 4. And so there's 4 groups of 6, which form 4 numbers. This is the number. This value of binary represents 19. Here, it's easy to see this one. This is 000101. And you should know that 101 is a 5. And then there's a table of these characters. The table is the uppercase letters, the lowercase letters, and the numbers. Now, in English, there are 26 uppercase letters, and therefore 26 lowercase letters. That's 26 and 26 is 52. Add the 10 digits, and you have 62. And 2 more characters, and that's 64. And 2 to the 6 is 64, so that's enough to display all 64 possible values. So it converts any weird character you may want to send to a collection of upper and lowercase characters, and possibly pluses and slashes. And that way you can send these things without having to worry about any sort of conversion. Here's an example. I took the text that says, this is a sample text for COMP621 period. I took that and I encoded it, and it looks like this. There are several websites out there that do encoding. Just Google them up. I find one very easy. You just copy and paste some text in there if you want to encode or decode, and it will encode and decode it whatever direction you want to go. And so I copy and paste this. Now you'll notice it's got just uppercase, lowercase, and letters. I didn't hit the pluses and slashes in this one. You know, those are only 2 out of 64 characters, so you only see them. Well, you think 1 out of 32 times, about 3% of the time. Actually, slash is all 1 bit, so you don't see it very often. Now there is an equal sign at the end. The equal sign is used for padding. You'll notice that this kind of breaks it into groups of 6. Well, what if you only had 1 character? Then you'd have this bit, and then there'd be 4 bits left over. Or if you had 2 characters, it'd be 2 bits left over. That's what the equal sign is for. One equal sign says we're padding for 1 byte. 2 equal signs, we're padding for 2 bytes. So that says the padding. So it is, in fact, part of the encoding, but it indicates the end of the encoding. And I might point out for the encode decode websites that I've used, you can skip the equal sign. And when it comes to the end, it says, oh, you've come to the end. The rest of it must be zeros. All right. That's encoding. And I think we talked about this, again, HTTP, and I showed you examples. Here's example, in case the live demo didn't work. I want to mention another command called curl, or command line URL. Curl works on Windows. I believe it also works on Linux and Mac systems in the command line, or if you have a Mac, it's in the the window you can enter commands.
Terminal.
Terminal, thank you. Yeah, I knew what I meant. Boy, when you get a gray beard, things don't always stick with you. Okay. Anyway, thank you. Is curl. Curl is kind of interesting. It has zillions of options. These are some interesting ones. Heads just shows the header. Output, you can copy the output to a file. That's really slick if you want to copy a web page. If you want to steal somebody's web page, you can go out and do it that way. Trace ASCII, specify a file name, and it will give you all sorts of information and store it in the file. And you can then look at that file and see all the stuff that went back and forth, including a lot of information about the setup of the channel and stuff. Verbose, you can add to any other option to show that and everything. And if you want to save the headers up here, if you just want to save them, oh no, excuse me. There's a header says, I want to send additional information in my HTTP command. I want to add other HTTP request options. And so, in other words, HTTP, as you see here, this is a response, has all these options. Their names, colon, ended in end of line. If you want to add more, if you have a special, for instance, authorization or other data that you might want to send along with what's normally said, you can specify it with curl by using the curl. Let's give this a shot. Okay. Hang on. Let's go back. Okay. Hi there. We're going to go to the other screen and share this one. Okay. There. All right. Thanks. You got to keep me on my toes. So that somebody's watching. I'm glad somebody was awake. Okay. Again, here it is. Boy, that's a long one. I don't want to do that. Well, anyway, I'll just do it again. If you click on that, it gives you all, it goes out there and copies the whole website that you went out there and downloaded the whole thing and gets, you can also issue that command. Let me just raise this up. And I'm going to add the head option here. And now when I execute it, all it gives me is the headers, the response HTTP. So I can see what is being sent. So this is, again, another tool you can use to carefully monitor what is going on. And of course, gives you the option to do things. You can send additional headers and stuff. Okay. Questions about curl? All right. And again, it just runs the command line. So we'll just get rid of that. Stop sharing again. Go back to our website. Let's, excuse me for a minute, and we will be, okay, and now we want to share that screen. Okay, now, according to what I see, you should be seeing the curl command line. Okay, there is a assignment for next week. You had an assignment for this week to go out and do the metric quiz. That was just a ruse. Here is the real assignment. I want you to go out and take the same metric quiz, but you have to get a score better than 100, which, by the way, is the maximum you can get if you follow all the rules. But I don't expect you to follow all the rules. This is a course on web security. I expect you to cheat. Hopefully, if you were paying attention, you'd have seen some ways you can intercept the messages going between the browser and the site. You can get JSON, you can use the debugger, but figure it out. Find some way so when I go out and look at the scores next week by noon on Tuesday, I should find people with scores of well over 100. Doesn't matter what number it is, anything's fine. But I want to see scores over 100. Now, in addition to accomplishing that, you need to then provide a short document explaining, well, how'd you do that? Let me know how you did it. And the second question is, how might I protect against that attack? In other words, you've been able to attack my metric quiz and cheat. Now, some of the students know you've taken this in other classes. You've been required, I grade this thing. And so, yeah, it might be nice to get a score better than 100. Somebody use a score of 1,000 or so. So how would you, tell me how you did it and how I might protect so people don't do that in the future. Now, there's a couple rules that are very important. One, don't damage the system. You cannot prevent the system from working so that other students can't use it. Or more importantly, if you damage the system so your instructor can't use it, he'll be very upset. It will not enhance your grade. Also, you can't change other students' scores, just your own. Okay, and it's due a week from today at noon. All right, so that's the assignment. Everybody understand the assignment? Any questions about the assignment?
Do you
Yes.
have any like constraints on what like live people who would take the quiz are? I mean, like, is there like a minimum thing you would expect for like, could you solve this question in under a second or something?
Well, okay. Yes, I mean, there's several different ways to do this. You can change how many you got right. You can change how long it took you to see. It only took you 1 second. That gives you an extra 59 points. I'll tell you, from looking at their original score, some of you needed more than 59 points. But yes, but you can do it any way you want to. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Anybody else have questions about the assignment?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I forgot, how many seconds was it before it starts deducting points? Is it 60 or is it 30?
60. You have 60 seconds to do it.
Okay.
There are 20 questions, and you have to do it in 60 seconds, which averages out to 3 seconds. By the way, why do I time it? It's not important for you to be able to do this within 3 seconds, but you can always look it up too. You look up the answer. In fact, there's a web page out there that has all the answers. But the purpose is for you to know the material. And if you have to answer it within 3 seconds, you kind of have to know it to answer it in 3 seconds. It's hard to look it up and answer it in 3 seconds. It's just so you know it. Yeah, you ought to know the metric system. I mean, I think they taught that in 3rd grade. Okay, so, but this time, and we talked about different ways to do this. I think I demonstrated several ways to change things. use one of them, two of them, whatever you want, and give it a shot. Get yourself a score of over 100. Now, remember, there's a score that's displayed on the screen, and then there's a score that's sent to the server. What's important is the score that's sent to the server. I don't know what's going to display on your screen. I do know what's going to be displayed on the server. So when I go out to my server and I look at all the results, I want to see scores of over 100 for everybody. Okay, so that's the assignment. It's not very hard. It shouldn't take you too long, but on the positive side, you'll get the opportunity to experiment with the debugger or with Zap, and we'll be using Zap a little bit more. So that's the intent. Okay, everybody, any more questions about the assignment that's due a week from today? Okay, everybody knows about the metric quiz because you should have all taken it. Some of you worked a lot on it. Okay, I have a question. I've been trying to do write some web applications, and I need to use some third-party APIs. In other words, I want to call Spotify has been my example or something, and I just doesn't seem to want to work. If somebody's done this before, Spotify, Google, written a web page, a web application that uses a third-party API and wants to give your poor ignorant instructor some clues on how to do this, I'd appreciate it. I have been Googling around a lot and learned all sorts of stuff, just didn't learn the answer to my question. Oh, I did learn some things. Okay, so please give that, please let me know. Just send me an email and tell me what you want. There's no extra credit in the course, but surely it won't hurt your grade to help me. All right, that's only an hour. I'll just have to make the two asynchronous ones slightly longer than half hours, trying to keep them short. Any questions about today? There will be two, actually probably three short, well, some of them are short, some of them are not as short, pre-recorded lectures showing up on Blackboard in the near future. They deal with encryption. And so you need to read those before next Tuesday. And I'll assume you know all that, and I'll ask for questions at that time. And of course, if you have any questions, you can send it to me. I have another question for the class. Do you think there'd be any use in a Blackboard discussion board where you can ask questions to anybody in the class, or I can answer them? It will not be graded. I know some.
If you're
That
just
would be useful.
Okay, then I'll do it. I just heard a couple of yeses.
Definitely.
All right, we'll put it out there. So, if you're trying to figure out what the blazes does he want me to do, you can ask the group and they will, hopefully somebody will respond. Of course, please don't, give people the answers, but do help each other, and I will try to monitor it and throw in my 2 cents as necessary. Okay, I will create that, send an email out to everybody when it's created. Okay, so that's coming up. Any other questions about the course?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So I watched your video on the WebGo installation and I'm still having issues. Is there anything I can do? I think it's something with my device, but I just wanted like a second opinion.
Let's see. Well, we can Zoom together sometime and look at it. We did that last weekend with a couple of students, with several students, I believe, and helped them through. We can step through it and see what's going wrong. I did, I think I noted a couple common mistakes. Big one was the path and not having Java installed, or having an old version of Java. I'm not sure what people were downloading it, but several students are having version 8, and that didn't cut it. The current version is version 15. So if you have version 8, you're a little bit behind. And since most of the improvements between 8 and 15 are security improvements, you probably want to put them out there. Okay. Yes, so send me an email. We'll figure out a Zoom time and work on that again. And unless you don't want me to, announce it to everybody else when we're doing this so they can watch and help everybody.
Other
I'll-
people can join too. I don't mind. I just
Okay.
needed help.
Okay, and again, I'll create the discussion board where you can discuss it. Any other questions? Statements? All right, well, in that case, call it quits for today. Go out and look at the other material that should be available hopefully by tonight, if I can pull it together. But you'll find it there in the next day or two. I will not be available tomorrow on the web. I have to evacuate my house so they can spray for mold, and I'm getting out of here so they don't spray me, moldy old guy, and I'll be back in the evening. Okay, so in that case, see you next time.
See you
Bye,
next
Dr.
time, Dr.
Williams.
Williams.
See you later, Dr.
Later,
Williams.
Dr. Williams.
Thank you for your lesson.
Later.